What's up, everybody? Anybody? Appreciate y'all listening. Sports Counterpoints podcast. We're back. It's February 9th, 2022. I always look down because I never know what day it is. Shout out to the hosts, the most, Ryan and Coop. What's up, guys? Welcome back.
Glad to be back.
Good to be back in the mix. So today's show, we're talking about the NBA. We had some trades go down. We're nearing trade deadline. We'll talk about the NFL coaching. Some more coaches were hired or supposedly hired, and we'll do a Super Bowl little rundown and kickoff before the game this week. So let's start with the NBA. We had some big moves. I know my Kings fans were kind of upset with Halliburton getting traded, but let's just see what's going on. So what are you guys thinking right now? Lay 'em on me.
I'll start. So we'll start with the Kings trade, right? So the Kings got Domantas Sabonis, Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, and a second round pick for Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. And it is interesting that all the Kings fans, and really anybody who kind of follows basketball, is talking more about Tyrese Halliburton than Buddy Hield, who was the big subject in the offseason, right? The Lakers were interested, and a lot of other teams were really interested in Buddy Hield, and then that has all just changed, and it just shows you how quickly trade hype can change, right? All of our group was talking over text messaging earlier, and we were talking about THT, and that exactly the same thing happened to him in the offseason. He was super hyped. Everyone was talking about how he's going to be the guy, and then ultimately, as the season went on and his role kind of diminished, and quite honestly, you had Malik Monk kind of blow up and become the one transaction the Lakers made that seems to have worked out. That changed. But anyways, when it comes to the Kings, this is a very interesting trade. I mean, it's clear that the Kings have decided that they kind of wanted to blow it up a little bit and go a different direction. They wanted to get rid of some contracts and Thompson, and clearly the excitement about Hield was gone. Sabonis is a very good basketball player. Justin Holiday, not all that much. Jeremy Lamb, not all that much, but they also get the draft pick. So, as Jason always likes to say about the Kings, they're three years away from being good for the last 10 years or something like that. And they just kind of reset the clock a little bit on that, right? I mean, they're not going to be a great team this year or next year as a result of doing this. And they're going to get a second round draft pick, which isn't exactly an exhilarating draft pick. I know Jason will say something about how much he loves draft picks or not say that. But anyways, I like the trade for the Pacers. It's clear that the Pacers think that they can make a run at it. They're trying to find pieces to go along with some of their other injured players in Levert and others. And so, this one, I think the only people who lose are the Kings fans because they were all excited about Halliburton. Jason, what'd you think?
Standard.
So, I definitely think that the Pacers won this trade. I just think overall they have the better players, Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield. Tristan, not so much. Sabonis, I agree. Sabonis is a decent player, especially when he's when his jump shot is on, when he's kicking from the outside. It's pretty tough to stop, at least in that particular game. Brian, I always say the Kings are 2 years away from being 2 years away, because it seems like everybody always gets excited about what they have and they realize they don't really have much. They end up trading away and they start the process all over again, which is what I see happen now. I know a few Kings fans. I don't know how any Kings fan can ever be excited about any trade that they make. It just seems like, they're just, I wouldn't say trying to stay relevant, but want to be at least competitive enough to at least make a playoff spot. And when that doesn't happen, they kind of start over again. So you can't really fault them for trying. But you also can't fault the Indiana Pacers for at least making a run at it. Of course, we know they won't win the title, but maybe they can go to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, with these players, I mean, it is a possibility. I don't see them getting past Milwaukee to go to the finals, but the Pacers going to the second round or even the Eastern Conference Finals is an accomplishment for them. So good trade for the Pacers. Like you said, the Kings look like they're starting over. Nothing really to get excited about, and that's pretty much all I got to say. Oh, and the draft picks. Yeah, Brian is right. I'm really not a fan of NBA draft picks. I figure there are only like 2 or 3 good players in every draft, since they only play college basketball for 3 months, but 3, maybe 4 months. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about this trade. It's good for the Pacers. I'm looking forward to watching this team play in the playoffs.
And one correction, I forgot that they actually traded Karis LeVert to Cleveland as part of a different trade. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Clearly, the Pacers got the better talent in this. Sabonis is really talented, two-time All-Star, but this is just a new piece for Sacramento to try and work with.
Tough. I'm the worst on this because I don't watch basketball right now. My team's bad. I'm not going to front. I'll be out at least until football season's over. So we'll get to that later. But okay, yeah, I just know from what I've been seeing, Kings fans are kind of salty because they liked Halliburton. It is interesting, Brian. Now that you say it, like I don't hear as much Buddy Hield. I did see a lot of like thank yous for your time here, and I think now he's like the 3-point leader of all time for the Kings. But it just I think it's like a kind of like you guys said, like it's just always a reshuffling, but never quite figuring it out. So too bad. Sorry to the Kings fans. Good for the Pacers. What's the next one?
Yeah. Oh, real quick before we go, you know how the Lakers were just up 7 at halftime. Well, Portland came out on a 14-4 run. Our Lakers have only scored 4 points in about the first 4 minutes of the game. So I don't know. I just had to throw that in. I'm sorry. That's just my team, and they just make me sick sometimes. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, here I'll set this up for you. So the deal was the McCollum deal between Portland and New Orleans. Blazers traded C.J. McCollum, Tony Snell, and Larry Nance to the Pelicans for Josh Hart. Our man Josh Hart from the Lakers, Nikhil Alexander Walker, Didi Luzada, and a 2022 protected first-round pick and 2 future second-round picks. So, Jason, what did you think about that trade? You can go first this one.
Here, there we go. So Portland, I think we all know they're just blowing stuff up and starting over. I think they should have did this maybe when they went to the Western Conference Finals, because that's when they were at their peak a couple of years ago. They went to the Western Conference Finals. For some reason, they thought they can probably run it back again and probably get to the finals. I don't think we all thought that, but they had a good run that year. I would have tried to probably make a really huge move at that point where everybody's value was up. Now you just have Dame, who's actually hurt, not playing right now, and you just have all these other pieces. So if you're going to ask me who won the trade, obviously the other team. McCollum is a decent player. I think he's a very good high-end 3 in this league, maybe a low-level 2. But for Portland, it's just one of those. It's just Portland's like Sacramento, like Minnesota, like New Orleans. It's just hard to get people, free agents, to want to go there. Portland seems sort of isolated on the NBA map, and it's just hard to have build a consistent winning culture there. They have Dame, which I don't think he's going to be there too long. I don't know how long he wants to continue losing. I don't even know who's the coach there. Maybe it's Chauncey Billups or something like that, but I don't know what he's expected to do with the roster that he's about to be given either this year or next year. But Portland's just rebuilding, and it's just what they do. Every few years they have to do this and kind of blow it up. What do you think?
So I actually see it very much the opposite. I actually think Portland got the better deal on this. So McCollum is a very good player. And the idea that the Pelicans clearly have is that they're going to be able to, put him with Zion, and they're going to be able to do some inside out type stuff. There's only one problem. McCollum gets paid a lot of money. Zion Williams gets paid a lot of money for somebody who does the buffet tour and not a basketball player. And ultimately, you have 2 players who could do a lot of wonderful things, except for there's not going to be an opportunity for them to do a lot of things. Meanwhile, they gave up a lot: a protected first-round pick, 2 second-round picks, and 3 players. So clearly, Portland has decided that it's the season is over for them. I wouldn't be surprised if Dame worked his way out, but I don't know if it'll happen before tomorrow. There's just not enough time left. But I think that Portland got a lot, considering that their window of opportunity closed. I totally understand why they made the run last year, right? They came off of a hot postseason. They had to give themselves another shot. They needed to recruit Dame, and Dame said, "I want to try again with McCollum. He's my guy." So you give him what he wants and make sure that happens. And now you have a situation where Dame isn't playing and McCollum has a couple of years left, and he's a tradable asset to a team that also has a hard time attracting free agents. You haven't heard of a lot of new free agents going to New Orleans. So they were able to go get a solid player to add. I think the reason that this is a C type trade for New Orleans and an A type trade for Portland is Portland got a lot for a player that they could no longer use. We'd love to do that as a Laker fan. And I think it's a C for New Orleans because I have long since given up hope that Zion Williamson is going to be the player that we all believe he should be. He's just not going to be that. Glenn, I don't know if you had some thoughts.
I really didn't. I mean, if I don't know, I just don't know what they're gonna do. I feel what you're saying, be like they might have the space, but they got to figure it out like now. Because to Coop's point, what's Dame gonna do? If he's gonna be gone, then like you said, it's not gonna be this year. So he's gonna play unless they have some plan a losing year next year, and then be out of there. So I don't know what's gonna happen. I just feel for Dame because he's always been a great competitor. Wished he was on the Lakers for years, but we'll see what happens. What else we got?
So we can talk about the Karis LeVert trade, which is literally a Karis LeVert trade. So Karis LeVert got traded from the Pacers to the Cavaliers for Ricky Rubio, who's already out for the season with a torn ACL, and his contract expires this offseason. A future first round draft pick and 2 future second round draft picks. I'll go first on this one. I thought this was a win-win. I mean, Indiana ultimately gets rid of a player that they had decided that they weren't going to have utility for. It's clear that the Pacers are trying to redo the team, getting rid of Karis LeVert and Domantas Sabonis within a matter of weeks, and bringing in Buddy Hield and Tyrese Halliburton as kind of new centerpieces, core pieces to the team. I don't know if they're centerpieces, but core pieces of the team. And so they got what they wanted in draft picks and the future young players. And Cleveland got Karis LeVert, who they think they can build a team with the pieces that they have. They have Darius Garland, they have others. So I thought this was kind of a win-win. I thought it's not a huge trade because Karis LeVert is a good basketball player, but run down the street and ask 20 people who are not NBA fans who Karis LeVert is and whether or not he can play basketball. And you'd probably get 19 people who would tell you which sport does he play.
No, they were like, they'll say, isn't he dead? Didn't he die? Isn't that the singer that died? That's what they'll say.
That's Gerald, man.
Right.
But anyways, yeah, no, exactly that. So anyways, I thought that was a win-win trade. Jason, I don't know if you had any other thoughts on that.
So I know we've been talking for years. Any trade that involves Ricky Rubio, whoever doesn't have Ricky Rubio anymore, won the trade. In this case, it was the Cleveland Cavaliers. They got rid of Ricky Rubio, a guy who I've never bought into. When he first got drafted, they kept showing those same 3 highlights against people who look like Vlade Divac. I was never a fan of his at all. LeVert can play a little bit. I'm with you. Your thoughts on LeVert is the same as mine. I think he helps Cleveland out a little bit. He's a young guy who, seems like he's hungry, wants to go after it. And Cleveland's having a decent season this year. So, great for Cleveland just to add another piece. Of course, we both don't think they're going to win a title or maybe even, go to the Eastern Conference Finals or something. But at least they could probably try to make some noise in the playoffs with, some young, hungry guys. So I think Cleveland won this trade slightly. Only I say slightly because Rubio's contract is expiring this year. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, the only reason Rubio's name is attached to this, he will never play basketball. I doubt he even flew to Indiana.
Yeah.
He's wherever he wants to be and having his vacation and rehabbing. But the only reason he was associated with it was because of a deal you had to match dollars in addition to the draft picks.
Indeed. Yeah, that's funny. Whoever doesn't have Ricky Rubio won the trade. I like these little one-liners, Coop. They have me weak. All right, so then was there anything else I'm missing? Any other? I know. Actually, let me throw this one out here. It's not gonna happen, and obviously don't go pie in the sky. But if you could trade one player on the Lakers, why would it be Russell Westbrook, and who would you trade him for?
I'm gonna go too long. Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
I love how you gave the answer in the question. It's like, if you could trade any player in the Lakers, why would it be Russell Westbrook? Yeah, it would darn sure be Russell Westbrook. Of course, the reason why is because he's an awful basketball player who gets paid way too much money to be awful at what he does. And the problem is, and we've been talking about this in the group chat and everything else, there's just no place to go with him. He makes $47 million next year. He makes almost $45 million this year. And he shoots 28% from the field goal, from the field. It's impossible to find somebody who wants that kind of a deal, that kind of a person on their roster. And the only possibility that we were all kind of joking about is, well, John Wall has basically the exact same contract and is about as useful not playing for Houston as Russell Westbrook is playing for the Lakers, if not. But the problem there, and with most of the trades, are the people who can afford him don't want him, don't need him. They're, the reason why Wall isn't playing in Houston is because they're trying to do a youth movement and give those folks minutes. And Wall said, I don't want to be a bench guy and I don't want to be part of a rebuild. It's like, well, that's great. Neither does Westbrook. So you're just looking for someone to consume a salary and get rid of another salary. So you need to find a situation in which it works. Is there a deal out there? No, not in my opinion. And there's so much conversation about Ben Simmons coming to the Lakers. Why in the world would we want a ball dominant big guy who can't shoot when we have a ball dominant big guy who can shoot in LeBron? It doesn't make any sense. So I just don't see how anything good comes at the trade deadline. The most trades are take THT and another player and trade them for Dinwiddie or someone like that, right? It's get a piece that somebody doesn't fit on another team for pieces on our team that might fit a little bit better. Those are realistic options, but unfortunately, I don't see any hope at all of us getting rid of Russell Westbrook.
I can't stand Russell Westbrook. Never have. Basketball IQ is zero. This man can't even run a fast break properly, let alone, like Brian said, he makes what, 44.7 million, has a player option next year for 47 million, which he's going to opt in because nobody's going to give him that money. And one thing, he also leads the league in turnovers. So who's going to want a guy who, Brian said, shoots 28%, leads the league in turnovers, and makes that kind of money? Glenn, I wish we can trade him somewhere. Like I said, I would trade him for his rookie card right now. I mean, something, But I blame the media and fans for getting so enamored over that triple-double season. He shot 42% that year, and his team was in sixth place. He got rebounds because his teammates were helping him. They even admitted they helped him get rebounds. I've never in my life cared about how many rebounds my point guard had, but obviously it was a big deal to him. And as we talked about earlier, as Brian said, he's a high usage ball player, which means that's how he gets 10, 11 assists a game. It's not that he's a playmaker. He's never been a playmaker in his life. So the media always put him in the same stratosphere as LeBron, as Steph, as Durant, and he never belonged with those guys at all. He was always a couple tiers below them. So Glenn, we talked earlier, say, how is he so bad? I don't think he's bad, man. I just think he's just the same player he's always been, just a turnover prone, a guy who can't really shoot that well. And his way of basketball just doesn't translate into playoff wins or even championships. So I wish we could trade him somewhere, Glenn. I really do, but I don't know who's going to who'd be dumb enough to take on that contract for next year. I just don't. What about you?
Yeah, poor Russ, man. I've always felt for Russ because he's in LA in his city with the brightest lights, and then they just can't figure it out. And then every clip I see, every meme I see is just toasting my guy, just cutting shots at him hitting close shots off the backboard. Or Giannis the other day, he gets a rebound. He's like 4 feet away. Giannis just went back for the rebound. He didn't even look and got the rebound. I was like, damn. So I just feel for the man, bro. I hate to see a brother go down like that. But again, this is just basketball and sports talk. There's no malice. I don't want anybody getting confused that we're trying to down talk another black man or man or woman or anybody for that nature. It's basketball talk. So I know people they're just not fans of the man's basketball. So, and it's hard. I don't really have anything like I could say, like point to like, oh, well, this was really good. I'm just happy he's in LA and, God bless the man. Get your bread and good luck at the next stop because it ain't been too good. So yeah, that was just a random thought I threw out.
Next stop is LA next year. That's the problem.
Yeah, right.
I'm talking about after that.
Every feeling that you have right now, fast forward a year, we're going to be still pissed off about it next year. maybe next year we can trade him with an expiring contract.
And Glenn, I really wanted your take on it because you were the most optimistic out of all three of us when we first got Westbrook. You're like, well, maybe it can, so that's why I figured I want to see if you threw in the white flag like I did on Jimmy G earlier in the year. Just like, what, I give up. I can't defend it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're, me, I like good stories, I be talking a lot of ish and I'll clown and all that, everything's not my job, but, I want to see him do well at home. But this ain't how we saw it going. So, but at least he's hoping close to his family and can enjoy the warm weather this weekend. So, if they're playing there this weekend. But all right, cool.
I would not want to be his family right now. I mean, it's hard for him.
Yeah.
But the hardest part is for everybody else who's got to defend.
Yeah, that's true.
You got to defend your family.
Yeah, love to them for real. I mean, it's just basketball too. Like people are getting ridiculous.
People take it way too seriously. Like we joke and talk trash.
Sports.
But if I saw him out, I'm not yelling at the guy like hit a basket. I'm like,
right.
Hey, nice, nice Maserati.
Yeah, right, man. Straight up.
Keep it moving.
Hey, Glenn, did y'all see that clip when he got the ball late in the Knicks game and everybody was like, "Don't shoot, don't shoot"? Y'all see that?
No, but I'm not surprised.
Yes, I did.
I think he shot it anyway, but yeah.
Oh, he absolutely shot it. Anyway.
Poor guy, man. All right, so yeah, still blessing. Again, it's just sports talk, so don't ever think anything else for anybody listening. But yeah, all right. So I think that's the NBA trades, right? All right, so sliding to the NFL and the coaching. I'd like to. I don't know how to do this. I mean, we could talk about all the black coaches hired. I think it's 1.5.
Yeah.
Or let's just go in the order I had it. We'll start with a former Raiders coach. Let's start with who's supposedly going to be the new coach of the Saints. Not Kevin James from that movie I just watched, which was ridiculous, but Dennis Allen. They said. So what do you guys thinking? I mean, it's not. I don't think it's official. He hasn't signed, but that's what it sounds like it's going to be.
I'll start with this one, man. The first thing I thought was retread. The NFL is good for hiring these retread coaches. Dennis Allen, I guess he's an okay defensive coordinator. I never really looked at him as a head coach. So I was actually surprised that I didn't even know he was really a candidate for the Saints job. So I don't see the Saints right now are in salary cap hell right now. So I don't see them being good anytime soon. So maybe it's not a good job to begin with. But like I said, I didn't know Allen was a name circulating for head coaching jobs. So I just never looked at him as that. I thought maybe they'll probably give it to a young guy, trying to prove himself in the NFL, but it didn't happen. That's pretty much all my thoughts on just another retread, getting a job. I don't think it's going to have any impact on the team at all. What do you think, B?
I'll keep this short. This was an absolutely ridiculously bad, horrible idea. I mean, it was just bad from conception. Whoever this was on the Saints in the Saints office who thought that this might have any hope of working needs to be fired. There is only one possibility. Sean Payton didn't say that he was retiring. He said he was stepping away from basketball. And so here's my conspiracy theory. They think football, excuse me. They say if he is intending on coming back in a year or a year and a half or whatever it is, and they want to keep the possibility of the door open for him, then you go and you hire somebody that you're not real serious about, who you can very easily get rid of and doesn't make a big stir, while you spend 2 seasons trying to figure out your salary cap situation by throwing everybody out and starting a new team for whoever comes after Dennis Allen. And if you're Dennis Allen, you probably have to understand that that's what's going on. I mean, you have to understand that you are not meant to be there for the long term when they're going to try and win championships. You're there while they're throwing everything out and starting over because they have a salary cap problem. They don't want to make a huge investment in a primetime coach who they think might be able to lead them to a Super Bowl because they will get disillusioned and go to someplace else too quickly. So that's it. If you want to feel bad for someone, feel bad for Dennis Allen, because there's just no hope that this is a real opportunity, given the salary cap situation, the way the team is formatted, and the fact that they didn't look at anybody real seriously. They had a couple conversations and then came out of the woodworks with Dennis Allen.
Yeah, well, he's on the staff, so I think to your point, even that actually makes a lot of sense. If he is interim, He's on the staff, so it's not going to take a whole lot of movement or shifting. He's already familiar with everybody. You put him in, and then if whoever the next coach is, and if it is Sean Payton, say he does, take a couple years off of family and get the bug to coach again, he comes right back in, and Dennis Allen may still be on the staff. So you may not even have to trip. So that's actually a good point, B. Word. All right. So the next one, let's go to your squad instead. I'm gonna switch this up and I'm gonna do these other teams at the end. So let's switch to your squad and do the Vikings.
All right. So the word is that the Vikings are going to bring in Kevin O'Connell. And obviously that they can't make that announcement until next week. And if they do that, you have to like it a little bit. It's an offensive coach. We talked about how, Jason and I were talking about a couple episodes ago that I really, really hope that they go and find an offensive coach that can build an offense. The Rams have had a very viable offense for quite some time. They lead the league in passing. And they know how to use the variety of pieces. Cooper Kupp, Adam Thielen, OBJ, Jefferson. Good running back and better running back in Minnesota than they're going to have, obviously, in the Super Bowl matchup. But so I'm cautiously optimistic that this could work out. I don't know who Kevin O'Connell is. I don't know where the McVay and O'Connell line is divided. So how much of this is McVay's genius and how much of this is Kevin O'Connell working behind the scene to make sure that the offense is going to go the right direction. But I also think that this means almost certainly that Kirk Cousins is our quarterback next year, because what this tells me is they don't want to rebuild. I'm fine with that. As a fan, I would rather watch them try to be competitive. But I think this makes it pretty obvious that they're not trying to rebuild. They want to give this offensive talent another season. If you're the GM for Quasi, you're going to have to do a hell of a lot on defense because that defense is abysmal. But you're also kind of hoping that the division kind of blows up, which it could very well do. Bears aren't much, right? Detroit's not much. And depending on what happens in Green Bay might not be much. So I think there's also an element of, hey, if we stay as good as we are right now and maybe get a little bit better, we could actually win a division that doesn't have Aaron Rodgers in it, a good Bears team or a good Detroit team, and get to the playoffs. And so I think that must be the thought. It'll be interesting there. But anyways, if I gave it a grade, I'd say this is a smart A+ hire. I don't know what the end result will be, but I like what they tried to do. Jason?
Yeah. So I didn't know Kevin O'Connell was a coach. I remember that name as a quarterback. He wasn't a good quarterback, but he must have been coaching for years though, because they said he was Cousins' quarterback coach. He was with the Washington Redskins back in 2017. So he's familiar with Kirk Cousins. So that's probably one of the reasons why he took the job. Cousins had a decent season under his tutelage, Connell. So I expect,
Cousins has a good season under everyone when you look at the stats.
Right. Of course, just look at stats. Right, exactly. So definitely, I think that's one of the reasons why he came, because of Cousins. The thing you might want to watch out for, Brian, is if you re-sign him. That's a whole nother story. But but yeah, I'm neutral on this hire. I don't think it's bad. I'm not saying it's great, but I'm not saying it can't be good. I'm just neutral. O'Connell, like you said, he has a McVay, which means he must have some type of Shanahan attachment as well. So he must be somewhat smart offensively to be able to use Thielen and Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. And he's familiar with Kirk Cousins, his strengths and weaknesses. So, like you said, I was thinking the same thing. If Aaron Rodgers is out of the division, that's Minnesota's the taking. You know how I feel about Chicago's quarterback. He's a bust. I don't like Goff. He's a super bust. So, Minnesota could rule a weak division, which I know you wouldn't mind, because I wouldn't mind if it was a weak division. You know what I'm saying? So it's whatever.
Hey man, weak divisions can get you to the NFC title game.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm pretty neutral on the hire, but if I had to pick which way, if I thought it'd be good or bad, I'm tilted towards good than I am bad. What about you, Glenn? You got any thoughts on it?
I don't really know him, but I like what, like Brian was saying, an offensive-minded coach. That's the ones what you get. And if he was in Washington, then that means he was with Shanahan too, right? Wasn't Shanahan the OC or something then?
Yeah, he was there. He was OC, and then I think McVay did some stuff too.
So he got to learn from everybody's favorite young coaches, or at least maybe not learn from, but be around them in meetings and whatnot. I don't know how old he is compared, right? But so it could be cool. I mean, I'd love to see all of our teams good. Like it's not a, you know what I mean? Don't bother me. So I would love to see it work out for B squad. So word up. Up next, you got the Jags, and they hired another retread, but he is a Super Bowl retread in Doug Peterson.
Okay, so I'm gonna keep this short and let Brian go. It's the Jaguars, so I do not care. You know, there's a saying, nothing good comes out of Memphis, Tennessee. Nothing good comes out of Jacksonville Jaguars, man. I'm just not really a fan of this whole franchise. Don't think they really belong in NFL. They're just another game on the schedule. So the only thing I can say, though, that I want to see on the Jaguars is how Trevor Lawrence does with this guy, because he's an offensive guy. I want to see what he did with Urban Meyer, and that was pretty much nothing. It was pretty bad last year. So I do want to see if Trevor Lawrence actually takes maybe a step up in his development as a quarterback. But as far as that, that's really the only thing I would look forward to with this Jags team. What you think about, Brian?
Shout out to anybody in Memphis who listens too. We love you. That's just a phrase.
I don't really think that this is a horrible move by the Jacksonville Jaguars. I actually like the opportunity in Jacksonville. I've said this before. They have a good cap situation. You cannot win a game or a Super Bowl when you have a quarterback that's making, 35, 40 million. Unfortunately, that means the Vikings are not going to be winning a Super Bowl anytime soon. But the point being that you have Trevor Lawrence. I don't know that he clearly needs to improve a lot to become something, but he can, and he fits the team fits the profile. And Pedersen did something that most couldn't do in Philadelphia, which had some pretty rough years before he got there. So ultimately, I think why not? Like, it's not that Pedersen is going to come in and be this massive force, but he's a solid coach, right? So call this a B type of situation. And he's got a team that has a good salary cap situation, a young quarterback who's supposed to be the it guy. They have some other talent throughout the team that they somehow didn't get rid of in their garage sale for players over the last 2 seasons. And so we'll see. The other thing is that in all likelihood, all he has to do is be better than Urban Meyer, and they're going to love him. And Urban Meyer was an abysmal hire, and it just ended in flames. So the bar is real low. So for all those reasons, I thought it was a good opportunity. We talked about that before, and I think that Pedersen got himself a pretty solid job for the next 4 or 5 years before they either fire him because they decided that he's the reason why Trevor Lawrence didn't work out, or Trevor Lawrence works out and they fire him because Trevor Lawrence wants somebody else, right? I mean, either way, it's 4 or 5 years from
now. Well, we talked about entry point earlier. Oh, my bad, GB.
Go for it.
We talked about entry point earlier in our text chain. This is like you said, Brian, this is a great entry point. All you have to do is beat Urban Meyer, and that bar is set very, very low. And I don't think Peterson's a bad coach at all. I just think with whole Jacksonville, it's just something about that franchise that they just can't really get it together. And I'm just not a fan of the GM Trent Baalke, because he's like one of those guys who thinks he's just smarter than just everybody. So I don't know how it works out, but it's nothing against Peterson. It's just Jacksonville, in my opinion.
I do wish
Trent Baalke. Where have I heard that name?
Yeah. I do wish that Leftwich had gotten the shot here, because, like I said, I do think it's a good opportunity for a 4 or 5 year opportunity with some cap space and some players, and it would have been a good place for Leftwich to have gotten his first opportunity as a head coach.
Fair enough. We'll see what happens, man. Next up, you got the Miami Dolphins. So Brian Flores lawsuit's still going. The NFL is at least mentioning that they're not doing well with any kind of diversity as far as front offices. So that's cool. And the Dolphins actually hire a coach whose father is Black, which we all just found out today, which is cool. You know what I mean? It just was, I don't know. I think he's cool. I like the young dude. I like how he sounds. He seems like a good coach. When I was watching some clips, because I live with some Niner fans. So we're watching clips and kind of seeing who he's about. He looks cool, hip kind of young dude, you know what I mean? Which I like, making Mike Jones references at pressers. Look that up if you haven't seen it. But yeah, it sounds cool. It was just funny. Like, it felt NFL-ish. No disrespect to him, because I think he could be a good coach, but he counts. The Niners get compensatory picks because he counts as a black coach, which is, I know how race in America works and how the laws were set up to, and changed to where instead of being with your father, with your mother, to reflect your heritage, etc. All this dating back to enslavement. But anyway, aside from the history lesson, it's interesting that it felt very NFL that he ends up as a diversity hire. Because just on the outside, you would no way you would ever know that, but not completely, just talking from, jokingly towards the NFL on that. So we'll see what he does. He comes from the Niners. Coop, we'll start with you because that's your former team. I think it's not a terrible hire because he seems like a smart young dude, and the NFL loves young coaches right now. So what do you think?
So I like Mike McDaniel. Like you said, I didn't know he was half black, because I look at him, I did not see half black. So I didn't know why we were getting a 3rd round pick. I thought they were talking about somebody else, to be perfectly honest with you. But I like Mike McDaniel as a coach. I'm not sure if he's ready to be a head coach right now, but he's getting his opportunity, so he took it. It was out of him and Kellen Winslow. So if those are your choices, I think his name is not Kellen Winslow, the guy from the offense coordinator from the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
it was out of
you're right.
Kellen Moore, I think it was. So if you're going to pick out of those two, then you have to take Mike McDaniel for the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan leaned on him a lot. And now that explains why Anthony Lynn got hired before the McDaniels thing was announced, because he knew that McDaniels was gone. So now the 49ers hired Anthony Lynn, another black coach who possibly could get another head coaching opportunity if he kills it with the 49ers the next couple of years with Trey Lance, which would be more 3rd round picks for us. So, but yeah, it's not particularly bad hire, but like I told you before, when Flores got hired, I really don't trust anything the Miami Dolphins have done, because for the last 20 years, they just made a lot of dumb decisions. I'm not even sure if the whole Flores thing had to do with racism. They're just a bad, dumb franchise. It just makes dumb moves and mistakes all of the time. So, maybe the Flores situation did have to do with it. I don't know. I'm just saying that the Miami Dolphins, I can't trust anything that they do. So maybe McDaniel might work out, but more than likely it probably won't, because it's the Dolphins. B, what you think?
First, I think that Kellen Winslow's in prison for the next 18 years. So that was a
Junior. Kellen Winslow Jr.
Yikes.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, sexual battery.
The second.
But anyway, so yeah.
You know where he went to school at? My bad, B. Before you start, you know where he went to school?
I do know where he went to school. Yeah, exactly. y'all have some criminals over there at the
Go ahead.
But anyways, y'all can hear me? Cool. So anyways, first of all, shout out to the light-skinned dudes. It's rough out here being. I mean, come on, man. I honestly, the phrase is passing. He definitely fits the bill for passing. But look, when you look at his experience, you look what he's been able to do with an awful quarterback in the 49ers. There's reasons to believe that there's good things on the horizon. The other thing is that the Miami Dolphins weren't bad, right? We used to talk about how Brian Flores had put together a really good team that fights hard, that knows how to play football, that always beat the expectations. And if you're going to take an opportunity as your first head coaching job, to have that platform be there already, and all you have to do is kind of take that and work with it, doesn't suck. And because Brian Flores, got pushed to the door, it feels a little bit like Dungy coming and building a platform for a good coach. And obviously, they're not going to win the Super Bowl next year, and then Gruden gets the limelight. But you get to go into a team that already has players who know how to play football. And players who know how to play football in the NFL are hard to find. You can't find them as easily as you might hope. So I think this is a very solid hire. he's a very interesting dude. I think that that's the kind of player coach that ultimately works in an NFL these days. Able to go into the locker room, talk to the players, get them excited, motivate them, and then hopefully bring some understanding of how to win football games with the experience that he's had in the 49ers to the organization. So, cool. I'm still going to be pissed at the Miami Dolphins because they did Brian Flores wrong. I think the ownership there sucks. And I do think that there's a good possibility that they changed their list of candidates after the Brian Flores incident. And that might be why someone who is passing, but also a minority got the job there, to try and to be able to use that when the lawsuit comes up. But anyways, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Wow. Damn, I didn't know about.
You got thoughts?
I had no idea about Kellen Winslow. Was my thought, bro. 14 years right now. So we just got sentenced to. Damn, dude sounds like dirtbag. Yikes. Sorry to those victimized. Jeez. Damn. Yeah. I said mine at the beginning, kind of like we'll see what it does. I think watching the clips, I was watching clips of him like at like a training or like a camp for look like high school players, and just kind of how he was talking about the game, what he's telling them to look for, etc. Like the coaching looks like it's there. Looks like he's a student, knows what's going on with the game. So could be a good hire. I mean, young coaches are killing right now. And like Brian said, Miami was already kind of rolling. They were, I think, a game or two out of the playoffs anyway. They got knocked out right at the end. And Flores did that while they traded every piece away that he had. So we'll see what happens. I mean, good luck to him, right? Salah didn't have too much luck, but he came to a Jets team that wasn't as good, I don't think so. Oh, they're in the same division. I just thought about that.
Yeah, McDaniel's used to dealing with very limited quarterbacks, and he has one and two, a little more limited than Jimmy.
Hilarious. I saw the video of him on the plane talking to him. He called him like one of the first things, was saying, we're working a lot together and I'm excited to work with you, etc. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So up next, and last but not least, definitely you got the Texans who hire Levy Smith, who's a Super Bowl. He went to the Super Bowl, right? With the Bears. He took the Bears to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman. So I think Levy of all these guys is the best to take Rex Grossman to a Super Bowl. Man. And yeah, so Texans hired Levy Smith. What do you guys think?
I'll go first on this one. Does anyone else find it a little bit odd that right after all of this stuff that Brian Flores kicked up, that two African-American coaches got hired, even right after one got fired? So, David Culley was another African-American who got fired. And Brian Flores was fired. And then Brian Flores put the lawsuit out there when there's only one coach and no one being considered. And then two dark horse candidates emerged to be be head coaching, be named head coach, right? Yeah, I think Lovie Smith is an okay coach. I have no idea what the hell the Texans are doing. I honestly think that what happened here is they got rid of Culley, who didn't have a bad season, considering that the organization did everything they could to tank the ability for him to be able to perform in his first year. But they got rid of him, even though he showed a little bit of promise. And then the news hit, and they're like, oh, crap, we're in trouble. And if we go from David Culley to XYZ or whoever they were probably considering before this happened, and then they said, oh, you know what? There's Levy. He's already a defensive coordinator. He can come in, our team. He can come in and take over the spot in a heartbeat. He is a diverse candidate. Yeah, that sounds just fine. And in 2 years, we'll be able to walk him to the door, and all this fear around what's going on with Flores will be done. I don't. That's a dystopian way of looking at things, but it's unfortunate that that's the way I feel. And I think Culley didn't get much of a chance. And good luck to Levy. But I don't get what Houston did here. There's those dots don't connect, not in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion.
Real quick, dystopian, dire or grim, because I know some of my friends listen to this. Y'all might not know what that is. Yeah, cool. What's that?
Yeah, so I'm with Brian on the Miami and Houston hire. I find that kind of suspicious there. Houston hire, I would think out of all hires, I don't think they had their pick of the litter of coaches because I don't think anybody wants to be associated with this franchise at all, from the owner all the way down. This franchise is a mess. Um, I'm with Brian. I think Lovie Smith's going to be there a couple of years, and then they're going to try to, they're going to get rid of him, I guess, once they finally figure things out. If they figure things out at all, it may take them a little longer, and he might stay. I don't think Lovey's a bad coach. I don't think he's a great coach. It's just, I look at this as just a hire. That's all. It's just a hire. A black or African American or a black man gets a coaching job, but it's not going to really make any difference with this franchise. This franchise is just bad from the ground. I mean, yeah, from the top down and ground up, whatever you want to say. So, yeah, not much.
I wanted to add one thing. If you bring in a coach, David Culley, and you give him every opportunity to fail by what that team, with the GM and the owners did with that team, and he goes 4-12, and you say, hey, we need to change the way the team is thinking about this and go a different direction, and then you hire somebody from his staff. Again, dots don't connect, but I just thought that I wanted to make sure I said that, right? It doesn't make sense if you're saying I need to go a different direction, and David Culley wasn't the guy, and he didn't have, we need to look at this a different way, and then you bring someone from the staff that he brought in Levy to replace him.
Right.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, you get rid of the head coach to hire the associate head coach. Yeah, that's going to change things up a lot.
That's going to change things up.
Yeah. So, whatever. Yeah, it's the Texans. Who cares? Yeah.
Don't sound like that was the goal. Lovie Smith, coincidentally, is also the oldest coach of everyone else is like under 46, I think, and Lovie is like 63.
Oh, I can tell by that beard. I can tell by the beard.
He got the most experience. I hate to see him like kind of set up for that. It's interesting. They probably they fired David Culley before this came out because they might have just kept him. Honestly, you could have just kept him another year. He's under contract or whatever.
If Brian Flores' suit came out before he was fired, I honestly think that's exactly what would have happened.
Just let him write it out. But it sucks that it's like that, and we understand. But I mean, I think as black men in America and black people in America and people of color, and then anyone else who can see kind of through the fog, like stuff's not fair. We're just hoping that it can get there and more people join the cause and try and get it there. So we'll see what happens. The NFL has never been known as the progressive, so we'll see what they do. So yeah, that's the coaches. And then up next, man, Super Bowl 53. I think I should know this, but I don't. Rams, Bengals, everybody had this as the Super Bowl matchup when the season started. So yeah, let's see. B, what you got, man? Your thoughts,
56.
What you think might happen.
Super Bowl 56.
56, thank you.
All right. Well, look, I think that this is going to be a pretty close game. I think there'll be some scoring involved in this. I'm obviously really excited. I've been going back and forth on where I land. And I think the Bengals are a really good team. They have 3 solid players. They have some other players, and they've had to go through an AFC that is easily better positioned for success going forward than the NFC. And the other side, you have an LA Rams team that's performed well, that's just found pieces. I think their GM is a genius. Whoever decided that, hey, I'm going to go get Eric Weddle off the couch to play football for us next week, and he goes and leads the team in tackles, deserves a hell of a lot of credit. I think that Stafford has become a really good player for that team. I'm not saying he's a great quarterback. I'm saying he's a good player for that team, runs the offense well, led the NFL in yardage and against the blitz. All of that to get to the easy point for me to make. I'm taking the Bengals and the 4.5 points. I think that this game is decided by a field goal. And so if I think that the game is going to be decided by a field goal, of course, I'm going to take the 4.5 points over giving the 4.5 points up. I think that there will be some scoring. I think this will be a close, interesting game. I think that you're going to get a first half that might be a little bit slower and dull. I don't think it comes out with fireworks. And then I think maybe either late in the second or on the second half, it's just going to it's going to open up a little bit because teams are going to feel it out and figure out what works. And then two teams that know how to make plays late in games will make plays late in games. And then I just think that its defense is going to be both defenses are going to have a hard time catching up to the offenses. So that's where I land. We can talk a little bit more about, why we think that after you go, Coop. But I'm gonna take the 4.5 points in the Bengals. And if I had to pick on the over under, I'd take the over.
Could be. This is the easiest Super Bowl for me to predict ever since I told Glenn a few years ago that Denver plus 5.5 against the Carolina Panthers was the most guaranteed Super Bowl money you'll ever get. And I actually watched it at your house, Glenn. We watched that Super Bowl. I said, I don't see how Carolina scores two. So I don't see how they scored 2 touchdowns against that defense. I don't see it. And of course, they lost by 2 touchdowns or like 14 points something. I am taking the Los Angeles Rams easily minus the 4.5 in this game. And here's why. The Bengals are going to have to use offense to win this game. The defense is not going to do it. The Rams are going to score points. I think this is the worst possible matchup the Bengals could have had in the playoffs, Super Bowl, whatever. I'm taking McVay, the teacher, over the student Zach Taylor. I think that I told you guys earlier, it's actually amazing the Bengals have gotten this far. I don't see how you win Super Bowls with a bad offensive line. I think Aaron Donald is feasting and waiting to bust through on this offensive line. They can give up 9 sacks to Tennessee. I know Aaron Donald and Von Miller must be like, we're about to kill these guys. But also Jalen Ramsey, he's a very important piece. You can either put him on Jamar Chase or you can put him on T. Higgins to take him out, and you can double Jamar Chase. I just see the ways of the Rams defense stifling the Bengals offense. That's the key in this game. I like the Rams defense over the Bengals offense, and the Bengals are going to have to use offense to win this game because I got the Rams scoring at least 27 points in this game, maybe 30. I have the total going under the 48.5, but I think, and I agree with you on Stafford. He's a good quarterback for this team, and I think that McVay will be able to scheme up stuff against his pupil to score points and win this game rather easily. But props to the Bengals. This is not really a anti-Joe Burrow or anti-Bengals take. It's more of a anti-Bengals roster against the Rams roster, which is why I'm taking the Rams minus 4.5.
So you said under, even though you said that the Rams are going to
Right,
score
I was thinking that too.
Upwards 30 points.
Yeah, so I have it as like
30. The Bengals offense can't score more than 14.
Yeah, so I got this as a 27-13 or 30-13 game. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close. Yeah, that's how I have it.
Cool.
One of us is going to be right because we're on the opposite side. So one of us will be right when this is over. So yeah.
Fair. Who you got straight winning straight up, B? I know you said the pick based on the spread. Who do you think wins the game?
I think it's going to be a close game that's decided by a field goal late. And I think that in those types of games, it's really a matter of who has the ball. If I had to pick, I would probably pick the Rams. But I'm just going to go straight Bengals on this one. I've been on that bandwagon all season long.
Hasn't failed you yet.
I can completely understand why the Rams would be able to win this game. I don't think that they're going to be able to win it big, but I do see how they could win that game. I do think that it's a close game. And I think that, most of us who are watching the game are waiting for the halftime show. So the first half being dull and getting over quickly is exactly what most people want, because there was a meme that was out there that said, hey, rumor has it that there will be football played before and after the concert at the SoFi Stadium this weekend.
Real talk. Yeah, this is the actual halftime show I'm gonna actually watch. I'm usually out. Matter of fact, the halftime show actually helped me get familiar with with some people, because there was a guy named Bruno Mars. I've never heard of him before he performed.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought it was a failed NASA mission. Seriously, I never knew who this guy was. I was watching it auntie in them house, man, in San Jose, and I was like, who is this Bruno? And he was pretty good. I was like, this guy's pretty good. It was like, oh, he's been out for a couple years or whatever.
Man,
like,
is he?
Never heard of him. Never.
Dude is nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've heard of these guys. That's performing.
I got a whole music podcast, bro, that you may want to be down with. Yeah, Bruno's nice. Nah, I got I think I'm hoping the game is interesting, right? Because that's all you hope for the last game of the season. They're calling this the best season ever, right? So that would only make sense if the season started out great. The playoffs have been great, record breaking. I'm hoping for the same thing here. If it goes down to a field goal and and it's 24-24, something high, semi-high scoring, we can see some points. I think that's great for both teams and the league. I think the Rams have to win this game. One, if you're going to solidify anything in Los Angeles likes a winner, right? It's too many options. So you got to win. Shout out Les Snead is the GM. I think he followed that of like the Lakers playbook. As I said, he traded for the best he could get. He's not growing anything in no draft. His kids, funny enough, they gave him a mug with the Jordan meme, the F them kids meme, but it says F them picks, and it's their dad on it. And that's real. Like, that's what he's done. So I respect it. The Rams have to win. I think, some of them guys are just getting up in career. I don't know how many more shots Stafford and them have. He's got to get it. Burrow and them, I heard Stephen A was kind of saying they're playing on house money, right? Like, no one expected them to be here. Cool. But the only thing about that Super Bowl is ain't no guarantees in getting back. I think they have a young team and they can do it. The Chiefs have recently done it. We saw Tom Brady do it year after year after year. So I think there's more thought probably around it that it could be done, but there's no guarantees in this league that you're going to get back. So you got to take advantage of your shots. I think it could be a good game. I think the Rams have the better. They were built for this. They're built for this moment right now. Like, this is what they're here for. They can't give it up. So I got the Rams winning it, but I'd love to see the Bengals pull it out. That'd be really cool. Plus, Joe Burrow would have won the Heisman, a college championship, and a Super Bowl in like 3 years, which is insanity. So he seems like a good dude. I like Chase. I like Joe Mixon. I like what's his name? The cornerback. I can't think of his name. Awuzie, I think it is. It's from San Jose. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to see him win it, but I think the Rams got it. And then I'm interested to see the halftime show, like you guys said. Usually I don't pay too much attention, but definitely interested to see how Snoop, Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar, Eminem, and then whoever they bring out does a show without any cuss words slipping.
I think what they'll do is they'll stop themselves and then let the crowd say the word, fill in the words.
There you go. That's smart, actually. So it's dope in Los Angeles, in this new stadium. I think that's going to be awesome. Shout out to anybody who lives near Inglewood. If your house is not up for Airbnb, you're tripping. Secondarily, stay at home, because I don't know how you're going to get around, because it's going to be ugly.
That stadium.
I'm nervous about driving down there to see you if we're going to hit traffic. So we're going to see.
Yeah, that stadium is an absolute nightmare to get in and out of, just for preseason games.
Straight up.
It was awful. One thing that I will say is that either way, I get to win a little bit, because if the Rams win, I get to go in our group chat and talk about Stafford and how Stafford is very much better than Goff. For those of you,
to me directly.
Huh?
To me directly. Yep.
Yep. I mean, I was one of the stalwarts of that Stafford is a way better quarterback than Goff.
Yeah, I backed you up on that one. Yeah, I backed you up on that. Yeah.
And then obviously if the Bengals win, I'll have been early on the bandwagon for the Bengals team and all that talent. But it'll be an interesting game, and I also think that the AFC is poised to have several opportunities for young quarterbacks to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and Glenn, you made a good point, because a lot of people, when you lose Super Bowl, they said the same thing about Dan Marino. He lost his second year and he never got back. So you're not on, and like Brian just said, there are quarterbacks in the AFC. And if you think about it, if you're Baltimore, what do you do with Lamar Jackson? Because you got all these gunslingers out there. You got Herbert, you got Burrow, you got guys just, Carr, Mahomes, he's flinging the rock. You still run this running offense. I mean, what you going to do to keep up with these guys? If you see them in the playoffs, I don't know if you can just run all over them for 3-4 straight games, try to get to the Super Bowl. So
it worked for the 49ers. They didn't have a quarterback. They had a running
monsters,
offense.
The Ravens got to get that defense back. That's where
got lucky, but yeah, lucky against Green Bay. But yeah, so the last 3 Super Bowls though have all ended in double-digit wins for the winner. So I'm not sure if it's going to be as close as people predicted, but we'll see. We'll see.
Nice. Hey, that's work, man. It's gonna be exciting to see. I'm excited about it. Anytime Super Bowl comes, it's always great to watch. Kind of bittersweet, because that also means end of football season. So and now I'd only have the Lakers to watch. So I'm going to be doing a lot of reading, playing some video games and, learning some things outside of sports I see. So that's cool. But yeah, thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate every one of you. Blessings to you and your families. Please take care of yourself. Minute to win it. Last segment of the show. I don't really have anything. Shout out to, I got the Morehouse College repping, all the HBCUs, students, athletes, alumni, respect. That's all I got. You guys are up.
All right, I'll go first. This will be fast. The only thing I would tell everybody is I recently, after years of looking at it and thinking that I wanted it and all those other things, I went out and bought the masterclass subscription, and I've only had it for like 4 days, and we're not sponsored, but it is really paid for itself already. It's been awesome. I've just finished Doris, Kearns, Goodwin, who is a historian, and she was married to Dick Goodwin. If you guys have seen the movie, the quiz show, he played the guy who actually found out the quiz shows were rigged, and then went on to write for presidents and speeches and be part of a lot of really big moments in history. But anyways, she just kind of tells stories. It was great. I did not know how much I liked LBJ. I have some family history that led me to understand who he was. Hubert Humphrey was his vice president. My grandfather knew Hubert Humphrey because Hubert Humphrey was from Minnesota. And so I had some understanding, but in listening to the history a lot more, he was really, really interesting. And the other one was Daniel Negreanu's masterclass. I've been playing poker a little bit more, and so this week, after last weekend, so for those of you that I played poker with this last weekend, it was after that, but it was also really interesting. So really enjoying that. If anyone wants to watch some videos, there's value there. It's not cheap, but it's worthwhile. That was it.
LBJ, cool. You mean Lyndon B. Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah, I think in African American Studies class they said he did more for African Americans
100%.
than any other president in history. So
100%.
Went to Howard, I would have never learned that. But so appreciate that, B. So mine is I'm going back to Russell Westbrook and the Lakers, actually. And I'm gonna be real quick. In life, sometimes when I've done things, let's just say I'm going out with somebody for the first time and I'm a teenager, I always had an exit strategy. I always said I had something else to do, just in case, I didn't like, the vibe or how our first little time going out was. So I can just cut in like an hour or hour and a half or whatever. For the Lakers to acquire Russell Westbrook and not have an exit strategy to get rid of him, if it didn't work out, I guess it never entered their mind. I think it's just completely criminal. This is why I said that Rob Pelinka has to go. You cannot acquire a player like that and think it's going to just work out. You have to have an exit strategy to get rid of him. And the Lakers clearly don't have one. They're most likely going to be stuck with him. So shouts out, get a GM that knows what the hell they're doing and is not just attracted to stars, but knows how to actually build a roster. Because I'm missing my boy Caruso right now. I'm just saying. So, and the Lakers ended up losing to the Portland Trailblazers by 2 points, which is whatever. So that's my minute to win it. I'm done.
Probably wish you had Brandon Ingram right now, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so thanks everybody for listening. That's our show today. It's February 9th, 2022. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the Super Bowl if you're watching. Enjoy your weekend. If not, we'll catch you all later.